All right, g'day everyone. Welcome to the TF Live Roundtable for season 28. I'm your host Xander, and with me tonight we have Sean, Skaz, Doge, Elmo, and Catfish. We're here to talk a little bit about the goings on in the Australian Team Fortress scene for this season. Lots of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. Everything from the prize pool that's happening this season, some maps. And of course, Sean is going to take us through some of the stats and analysis that he's been doing for this season. So let's just start things off with a quick how are you going? How's everyone going here tonight?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah,
Pretty
not
good
too bad.
tonight. Not so good this season, TF2 wise.
Oh no. Oh no. All right. Well, I guess we'll get right back into it in that case. This season, we have a $3,000 prize pool and an immense amount of signups for this season. I believe it's the highest numbers ever signed up to ozfortress. Obviously, there is something going on with why that is the case, but hopefully we can keep some momentum going forward. Now, is this prize pool something that ozfortress or the admins in particular are keen to keep going into the next few seasons? I guess at Skaz or Catfish here.
I mean, obviously, it's always something we'd like, but currently it's sort of they're pretty intermittent. Like they kind of just whenever we have the money, we'll throw one up. I can't because of that. They're pretty inconsistent, so I can't really say when the next one's going to be. But I would say we'd get one every maybe like 18 months to 12 months around that time frame.
So that's every 3 or so seasons.
About every 3 or 4 seasons, I would say.
Cool. And that's from the ozfortress Patreon as well as from community donations. I know there's been some anonymous donations, but there's also been mainly coming from the Patreon there. Is there anything that the Patreon does other than fund prize pools, Catfish?
We've made, this wasn't that recent, this was a while ago, but we made a few adjustments to the actual servers to give them more storage so they can hold more demos, that kind of stuff. But yeah, mostly it's just paying for servers basically, and we just use the cash for whatever we think we might need or prize pools or anything like that. Yeah, shout outs to the patrons.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess, of course, this is for the Premier division, and we have a few Premier gamers. Do you reckon that the addition of this prize pool has affected the competition this season in any way? I guess Doge / Elmo here.
I mean, I'd say the Dogen team and Happy Feet are sweating their balls off over the prize pool a little. They no longer stream games or anything, have hidden streams and all that, so they're going quite try hard. I know some of my gamers pretend they're not trying, but are still MG at 3 a.m. every night. So it is still highly contested. So it should be good. So
Yeah,
always a good motivator to go
Do
hard.
you have similar thoughts on that, Doge?
Yeah, it does give us a reason to sort of try now. Not just like, just play TF2 and just win and get a medal.
So that the money doesn't come into it for you. You just the love of the game.
Oh, it does a little bit, but like,
You can put
it has
on
like
the
it has
TF2
made
resume.
the level of like Prem TF2 in Australia like go a bit high, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like everyone in general, the past few seasons, at least in top Prem, has gotten really good.
Yeah, and I guess we'll talk about predictions for the season a little bit later on. But I think one of the things that we wanted to start talking about tonight in particular is the map pool for this season, things about just what makes a good TF2 map in general. And I think that's why we have people like Skaz coming along tonight. As addition to being an ozfortress admin, he's definitely dipped his toes into some map making of his own. So I guess this map question will go to you first, and then of course to everyone who has to play these maps. But what do you reckon makes the map pool of season 28 so good? Why do people like the maps that are being played this season?
I think probably one of the biggest reasons was because of season 27 and having Kalinka. I think people were really happy to not have the map be played again, and that might have, had a bit of like a positive effect on players for season 28. But I think having the introduction of, Metalworks and Pro Lanes coming back into the rotation, it's like these maps we know, we've played them before, they're very comfy, you know, in my opinion, I think that was sort of the goal of season 28. The map pool was to like be a little bit less experimental. You know, like let's not play Kalinka, let's not play Bagel or Reckoner. Let's just give something that we all kind of know that we can just kind of chill out with, and then maybe later on we can think about changing it up. You know, if we see fit, if there's a map that kind of fits that spot, a new one.
Cool. So I guess onto the players' side, of course, all of us do play the game at least at some level. When we talk about, you know, a less experimental map, is that because we know how to play these maps more often, that they are safe for us, that people enjoy it more, or do you reckon it's more to do with, you know, 5 CP over Koth or things like that? I guess that, you know, anyone who has played TF2 in the last few weeks.
Well, I don't think anyone's like that adverse to new maps. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure Sunshine was. I mean, this is just anecdotal, but like fairly universally liked, like pretty quickly. Has it? I don't. Did it ever leave? I think it might have left like once for Reckoner.
Yeah,
Maybe,
like,
yeah, when it first came in, like
people
the
just-
second or third season,
Yeah,
they
it dropped out
Yeah.
for Reckoner, and then everyone realized that was a horrendous mistake, and they would never make it again. So I don't think it's just because everyone's familiar. It's just kind of the
I think
core
I
maps
think
are pretty
people
cool.
want them to fit in with like the meta. Even if it's not identical, people want a 5 CP map to play like the other 7 5 CP maps. Or if there's a new Koth map, they want to be able to play it like Product because we've only had Product for ever. I think that plays into it. So when you try and put in something like Kalinka, which like I played it for a week, and like watched maybe one game, but it doesn't seem like it is as easy to
Well,
play
I mean,
the same meta, right? Like it just doesn't work as well.
well, I just don't think Kalinka wasn't ever really designed for like 6v6 either, was it? It was just some Russian guy made a map and then it got picked up and played a bit. It was never, really going to fit in meta-wise very well.
I
Plus,
think
it was just kind of
Kalinka.
a weird map in general.
I think Kalinka does have a few glaring issues, but you kind of have to wonder like what makes it a sixes map. Like we have a lot of different variety already in the map pool, and Kalinka was very different. I think that there's a lot of issues with it, but really, a lot of the things you see on Kalinka, you see on every kind of map. You know, like I don't know if it really is that different. I think my opinion is that it isn't a horrible map. I think there are like clipping, for example. There's a lot of hiding spots. You know, last the medic could hide behind the glass and just not get headshot. Like you can't run a sniper going into last. So those obviously glaring issues that can be fixed. But in general, the layout, you know, it does have a lot of things that other sixes maps have. So yeah, that's my opinion of Kalinka.
Do you think it was like tight corridors or anything like that that'll make it less wanted to be played?
I think it was the transition from second to middle and the kind of valley and then choke kind of situation. It was like I think that those two doorways might have been too close together, and also sort of that like because there was a big wall separating them, and it kind of made it a bit awkward. It was like they're really close together, but it's hard to kind of rotate. I think why Process and Sunshine is liked so much is because you have the flank, you have the choke, you have another flank, and it's very easy for you to know who's flanking. It's very easy to know where to hold. Kalinka, I will say, was very awkward on second and middle. But yeah,
I mean,
I think if that was simplified, it'd be a lot better. If that
do any
transition
of
from second to
the
middle.
players have like opinions about that too? Like Elmo, do you find that was true when you played that map versus when you play, say, like Gully Wash or something that's a lot more open, or even Process that is a lot more open?
I wouldn't really call Gully that open. I mean, at some points it's obvious, but it's still pretty typical choke pointy. I mean, I just don't think like Kalinka, like you said, it just didn't like flow very well. Like none of the points really like made sense that much how they connected. It was kind of just random as fuck doorways everywhere.
I feel like there was
Especially
team.
like you said, second and mid was like super awkward because it was basically just like a few tiny doorways and then that really really long hallway that you could see forever. So like basically all you could do was like trade from that hallway, and so it was pretty awkward.
The only thing I
Plus,
remember from playing Glink is feeling like that was too much.
yeah, there was
There's
so much
too,
shit
like compared
everywhere.
to compared to
Exactly.
every other map, like all these maps that we play, like Badlands, Sunshine, whatnot, they're so simple and there's just like not many ways to go. If you know what I mean? In Kalinka, there's just like too much stuff going
Yeah,
on.
well, especially like weird stuff like that weird doorway above, like the weird window above second, where you could just literally shoot directly down to the point.
Yeah.
And then it was,
from
but you only
lobby.
could make it from like some weird tiny staircase, and it's kind of like, why? But yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of the things that are on the map are okay. It's just like the execution was pretty horrible, like the window. Like it just because it's so steep that to get up there. I think you can hold it down fairly easily from second side. I feel like it's like small enough that you can spam it like well enough. And the area you have on second is quite large, so it isn't like you're forced to get spammed. Like you have enough area to kind of move around. But yeah,
Like you said, I don't think it's the worst map, but like that's definitely well. No offense, well fans, but second well is literally the worst point in the game. But I mean, I don't really think it had anything going for it that we would ever, play it over the other kind of newish maps like Logjam, Reckoner, Bagel, or Metalworks, like those kind of other ones that are on the edge. I don't
yeah.
really see why we would ever need to play Kalinka. Like even if we expanded, like how many maps we at? Like 8 or 9 or something.
No.
Yeah, even if we went to like
1,
10 or
2,
11, I
3,
don't really
yeah,
think
there's
we would ever need Kalinka.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that we can like, with Logjam having a very significant change to it this season, has anyone played it enough to see whether it enters the same kind of category as, maps like Snake Water that has been played for so long, or is it still sort of on a little bit on the outside?
Well,
I
I mean,
think so. Like people can pick up Logjam and like know what they're doing, unlike Kalinka.
I
Like
think
I feel like the
Logjam is now
first,
much more closer to gully now.
yeah,
Because you've got like there's one flank log room and one choke with like one alternate way through because cave is gone now. So it's like it's equivalent to the drop down of gully. So there's like one way into mid, like one choke, and then one flank. Like that's it. So it's more like gully now. Whereas before there was this weird cave, kind of made it a little bit like it was off a little bit. It didn't you couldn't flow through cave. So like
Yeah,
I don't
it
know.
felt like
I
no
think it's
one
much
ever
much more
really
like
used
gully.
it either. It was much more like you would use log room as the flank and cave kind of sat there doing nothing, or you just have someone gremlining in there the whole game, and that was it.
I mean, you basically just could never go to mid because the door was too small, and then it was kind of awkward to go through as anything apart from like soldier where you could kind of jump through. I mean, I played it yesterday for for like murking, and I think it was better than before, but I don't think it's ever going to be kind of Snake
I like
Water
that it's
Gully and
different, right?
Process are just too far ahead.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
I
it's
still
harder to
think it's a
deny the choke, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
so it's
I
got
mean, I think
like
it's
a process
definitely a
choke.
better chains.
Yeah.
It's Yukon kind of choke, but it's
Yeah.
pretty good. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think that was ever the biggest problem. I still don't really like mid. I think it's way too big, but apparently that's not going to get changed anyway. So I just have to deal with it because
I think
I think last is a good point, and then second's pretty good. It's just kind of mid's way too big.
yeah. I don't know. It's like previous to the choke change, like there's kind of like the like theory in mapping that you have like the 3-3-3 setup, so it's like 3 entrances to each point. And Logjam had 3-3-3, but the issue was is that from middle to second, like it's you have log room, you have choke, and you have cave, but cave is like way too far out of the way. So it's like 3-3-3, so it fits that process sunshine kind of layout, but it's done horribly. By getting rid of that cave and incorporating it more with choke, you've got a 2.5, which fits better with like Badlands and even Gully Wash. Like I think it's like I don't know. I wonder if like Logjam was trying too hard to be like this 3-3-3 setup, and was just like screw it, let's go back to 2.5, which worked.
it works pretty fun, doesn't it? Like people play like pushing second from gully mid like they do on Logjam. They play
Yeah.
mid to second on Logjam like they do gully to middle.
Yeah. I don't know. There's like another whole discussion of like, is it bad that you've basically removed a whole route? Like, is that lowering this like the like potential of the map? You know, I don't think it does. I think Logjam is just as good as it was. Like, I think there's still as much potential, even though you've removed a whole route. You know, like I don't know. It just plays differently, I guess.
Mm. I
What
still
other
think
thoughts
there's
Improve.
I think there's still an issue with sniper sightlines potentially. Like
Well,
from
the bit he opened up, Like you literally can. I think Ray's was telling me about it yesterday. Like you can literally, if you sit at the back, you can see
see
like
choke
the
to choke.
whole way into their choke,
Yeah,
which I
that's
think he
dumb.
tried to fix last time, and then with the new one, he's opened it up.
Yeah, I think it's probably just the geometry of that slope could be fixed, but like, because if you, the sight line's too long. That's like the only issue I would have with it long term in terms of like if it was done and it was just in the map pool and like how it would probably play. I think that's the only issue, which is like, yeah. But I think even if you left it, people would just know, right? Like after like a season, people are like logjam, got to watch out for the snipers. Like it's not that bad. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those ones where it had a lot of resistance when it was introduced at the start, but it stayed in the map pool because the mapper
Well, I
was
mean,
Ice was
we
like keen
dropped
to
it for a
work on
little
it.
bit, didn't like it was in a
Yeah.
summer cup, and I think everyone kind of didn't like it, but it has changed a fair bit since then.
Yeah, so
Like I remember the
active
last
mapper
cap,
is a
yeah,
real
it's
big
good.
thing for that.
But
So
I
yeah,
think there was a bit of talk. I don't know if I'm spilling the beans too much here, Catfish. You can stop me if you want. But there was a bit of talk about removing it for season 28. But I was quite vocal about keeping
is
it
that
in.
just because what people said on the survey or whatever?
Came
yeah.
very
actually,
close.
speaking
to
of surveys, yeah, do you have any insight into surveys while we're here, Catfish?
I'll talk about the maps. Yeah, so Logjam and Reckoner had very similar approval like percentages from the survey. I think they're only like a couple percent apart from memory. And we were initially going to remove Logjam and keep Reckoner for this season because there was a Reckoner version that we hadn't played yet, and it wasn't a major change from the one that we played most recently, but it was like sort of enough of a change that it was like I think it was that forward spawn that everyone complained about that you could snipe and that could see like every choke or something. It's sort of stupid, but that was removed. And so we thought, well, that's been changed. Logjam presumably won't be changed, so we'll play that. But then Heis said that he's going to update the map, and it had been the first update for a while, and he said it was probably going to be a relatively significant change, and so we opted relatively last minute to put Logjam in instead because we thought the change that Logjam got in the most recent version, like the removal of cave and all that, was more significant than the more minor Reckoner change. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for saving us for another Reckoner season. Greatly appreciate.
You're welcome, Elmo.
I don't I don't think Reckoner is like a bad map at all.
You
Really,
can hold lobby like way too.
I mean, I
strong.
just really dislike second. Like honestly, second. Apart from second, it's like the worst point in the
What
game.
is wrong with the second though? Like
I mean, for the same snipe issue. I'm assuming you're talking about mid because you can see everything on mid. On second
They
forward
like
spawn, you can see
lowered the
everything.
wall though. They lowered the wall from
Well,
like
not just that. I mean, that's one problem. The main problem is like there's nowhere good to hold apart from like you can kind of hold the top right door, but like there's 3 other doors that everyone can just run in. So it's not really that good a spot. And then as soon as you're pushed off there, you're just in like the kill zone because every other door is like a tiny under door or a roller door. So it's like it's basically just awful to hold in general is why I dislike it.
On the topic of lobbies, what about Badlands? Badlands wasn't played last season, right? No, playing it again this season, or am I wrong? I'm probably wrong.
No,
Yeah,
it,
right.
it wasn't.
Yeah,
You're-
Badlands
yeah.
had a break and now it's back again. I know some people have strong opinions on Badlands. Does anyone want
Yep.
to weigh in on that?
Let's
Still
go
think
back
the
to
map's
our
awful.
1 second cap, please.
Oh.
Class. Original
think-
Pro Lens, please.
I
Let's
don't think I'm gonna go that far
I
back.
still think like, yeah, it's just the last that breaks it. Like I get that it's a different thing. It's like, yeah, people have to play a certain way, but I think how easy it is to be capped and how hard it is to push off last, even with the current version. Like you can defend last now better, but it's still really hard to push off last. I just think it makes for like a less dynamic game, a more stalematy game, like a slower game, and I didn't miss it when it was gone. I know some people did because of nostalgia, but like I don't know. I just don't think it's that good of a map.
I don't even think pushing off from Badlands Last is that bad anymore though. Like compare it to Snakewater. Like Snakewater, everyone it has like the old Badlands problem where, everyone on attack spawns just in like 3.2 seconds or some retarded shit, and so they're always back there to fight. Badlands, that doesn't
Yeah.
really happen anymore. Like the only real thing on Badlands is like the back cap. But like since Soul disappeared, it's not that much of an issue, you know. Like
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I mean, I
think
guess that
teams.
happens
I
on
think
Gully, right?
teams are a lot better at kind of looking at it compared to how they used to be. So yeah, like you can get to the spire pretty easy and all that since they changed the spawns. Snake's definitely way worse on that. I
It'd
still think
be
it's kind of just lobby people get stuck attacking compared to before,
yeah.
which
I
I
mean, it
think
would be good if
the
there was
1
another
second is
way
better for that.
out. If there was another way out, right? Like if you could get to Spire, like so you wipe the enemy team. I don't know. You've got like 3 players left. It's pretty hard to reliably cap second and not lose anyone, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, because if you get 2 people on Spire, whereas you know what I mean, like your med has to stand somewhere weird, or like people are climbing. I don't know. I think
I think that's kind of like what people disagree on Badlands are. I think the people that like Badlands, Spire is like their favorite point. The people that hate it want to cut down the Spire and throw it off a cliff. So it's
Have
kind
you
of
guys
just
heard of? Sorry, I'm gonna keep
there
cutting you
you
off.
go.
Have you guys heard of CP Utopia?
no.
No, I have not.
So
I've seen the
I've
link
just
you've sent there.
yeah, I'll
click
put
it.
it in Discord. So CP Utopia is a project by Collade which works to rework Badlands, basically modernize it for like the scout meta, I guess, and just kind of
Do we
I don't
really
know.
need
It kind
more
of
scout meta
processes.
though? Really?
Well, that's the question, right? That's like a whole part of it. Is like, do we really want to work on Badlands? Like, well, there's like 2 things in my opinion. It's like, do we want to do we want to put the energy into reworking Badlands when we could just make a whole new map? Or
Jesus,
do we
this
just
does look like a whole new map.
take
What the hell
yeah?
did they do to Resup?
So Resup
What the hell is
isn't there
Resup?
anymore. You can't get Resup. There's a medium. There's fast rollouts all over the map. Yeah,
Dude,
so
this
that's
this
like a
is like
project to modernize Badlands. So a lot of the things you guys are talking about
I mean,
is
does it
trying
really
to be fixed in this.
like? I still like the problems will still be the same, wouldn't it? Like it still would be hard to push out lobby by the looks of it. Like the lobby issue's still there. Mid
Well, I
still
mean, they
looks
just
like
need to
fucking
make if he
shit.
wants to
I
change
hate
it,
fucking
he
mid.
just needs to make it.
Yeah, well, that's the
He
thing.
needs to
It's
make
like
it smaller. I swear there was a Badlands version where they like got rid of the difference between lobby and Badlands, and it was and battlements, and it was just like one whole area. Like you would just walk out of last onto the battlements area. Am I insane? I swear this was a thing on someone's version of
I
Badlands,
don't
and so
know.
you're basically right there.
We're dreaming of the perfect balance.
Yeah. Feel free to make it for us, guys, and we'll see how it goes.
Easy peasy.
I guess we should start wrapping up our thoughts on some maps now. Is there any sort of last thoughts about maps before we head on to the Sean section of the evening?
Balance is
mean-
bad. Logjam is good.
We could
I
kind of
mean,
use
well,
it
just-
to transition, right? Which is like the things I kind of wanted to show in terms of like what maps are like fast and what are slow, like stalemate versus non-stalemate.
Yeah, dude, you should be hosting this shit, bro.
No interest. But if if Connor
Yeah, get
can transition us, maybe.
Oh, look, there we go.
Ooh.
What is that? Oh, this is teams per season.
Okay, I don't know what that
The
graph
recovery is actually insane though, like the teams per season one. Like
Do
it
you
was
think it'll
down to like
hold?
30s. I mean, not to 50. I mean, from the point we were at like low 30s, weren't we? Like the lowest one that was 31, and now then we had like a solid 40 in the row. And then
Yeah, I think that
obviously
like
with
all the
coronavirus and
boomers that
stuff, we
came
got
back are gonna leave again after they all get their jobs
whether
back.
that many boomers coming back. I swear it's always just open, gets bigger and bigger. Like more new people somehow play this dead
Well,
game.
not
'cause
everyone's
they got
gonna
bored of
leave.
Overwatch.
Well, I mean, we aren't going to drop down. I believe we aren't going to drop down to like 41. I don't know. I feel like it's going to
Well,
be.
it's been
Well, I mean, I
fairly,
reckon we'll
fairly
probably be
safe at
stable around
40.
40-ish again. But that's still, like I said, that's like 32 we were down to for ages. Like in the 30s, it recovered one season, and then we're somehow back to flat 40s.
All right, how's about we get some of Sean's map stats up?
Skip these ones, I think. Just go to the map ones if you've got them. So I don't know what one we're looking at, but
That's map
they both show the
damage
same
versus
thing,
charges.
which is sort of like, in my mind, an indication of how fast it, or like less stalemates, right? If there's less stalemates, people will probably be Ubering more and doing more damage, I guess, because there's like more fights. Which I don't know. I guess this goes into what Elmo was saying, which is that Snakewater is actually slower than Badlands, despite what I would naturally probably think about it. Which is that, like, I would expect Badlands to be the slowest map by far, and I wouldn't expect Sunshine to be so slow as it is.
Why do you reckon Sunshine sucks so much?
Well, I mean, pushing out a Sunshine last is really hard. Like basically both pushing out from last to second, and like if you actually like watch any of the good official games last season, and you'll see there was lots of fucking about like pushing out from second and pushing into last. I think, and the season before actually as well. Like there's so many failed pushes over and over and over again, back and forward basically. So even though they're like, I don't think the games are that bad, but or not that slow. There's just a lot of messed up and then waiting because we messed up again kind of thing. And I mean, you saw like the grand final last season. We just like basically sat on last because we're 3-1 up or 3-0 up or something. And so it's like, this is a really hard point to push out. Why would we bother? Kind of thing.
So I guess the other thing, like, does like Gully is apparently allegedly like the fastest map to play. Is that just a product of having like one flank and one choke, do you think?
Well, Gully's like a really snowbally map as well, though.
Is it
Like
spawn
a lot of
timers?
the time is Gully. If you win mid, you stomp the last compared to other maps, I think. So that speeds it up a lot.
I think another thing is like rotating from like choke to big door if you're like on middle. Like you can't really rotate like that. So it's like it's harder to rotate to stop a push, I guess.
Yeah, you just have
I
to
don't
back
think it's
up.
that hard to rotate on Gully compared to other maps.
Yeah,
Like
but
I think the
there is
main,
like a disadvantage to rotating. Like you're going to lose high ground if you're going from choke to big door.
I
Like you
guess
almost have to
so, but
back
the
up to
choke is
choke.
like so small. I don't really think. I think that's the main stalemate point. Is like Wright was complaining in chat, and as he always does, like the mid to second is really stalemate because it's basically just two tiny doors. It's just I reckon the rest of the map is quite quick in general. Like there's once you get past that point, there's everyone like when you defend a push at last, you basically always get second. That kind of thing, compared to other maps where pushing out from last is like by far the hardest thing to do.
Cool. Well, I guess we had some stats up from Sean's stats thing project that he's been running for a little while. How about I sort of hand over to Sean for a little while and you talk a little bit about your thoughts behind your analysis slash like what you've been planning for this season, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, initially it was I had suspicions about things like maps, classes, like class damage per map kind of thing, and um, I was just sort of interested to sort of prove whether my intuitions were correct, which is probably what I'm more interested in. And then when I showed them to some people, I think namely like Elmo and Sam, it's sort of like people are obviously more interested in like player stats, like who's the best player, who's the best team, and I think in a way it's addressing what I thought were the flaws in the TF2 metrics thing, which I think was like super entertaining, but from a statistical point of view kind of sucked because like the argument I always use that if the two best players in the server were like the enemy demo men, but then one of them loses and has like slightly less damage or KAD than the other one, then they on the TF2 metric system would like go down effectively. So I started looking at basically like sport metrics like basketball, AFL, those kind of things, and how they try and rank players. And sort of that's what the system is sort of based around, those ideas. The TF2 is obviously like unique because it's a video game. And TF2, unlike a lot of games, is like it's actually quite simple, really. If you want to predict the outcome of a game, all you really need to know is how much damage people are doing. Like that's it. Like damage. And I think not that we have this number. My prediction, and this is similar to Overwatch, which is like damage in a concentrated amount of time, and there are players that just are good at that. And I think like, and I've shown even just on damage alone. So if you take a player's expected damage, you have the team, like with 99, I think it was 98.5% accuracy, you could predict the outcome of a TF2 game. But like I still think it's a bit of a meme, right? Like because stats don't tell you a lot. In one sense, like they cuck soldiers for one. Because a lot of what a soldier does doesn't translate to stats. But I think by and large, people love to say like, why isn't there ACK there? Why, like it kind of sucks because it cucks people who take lots of damage, blah blah blah. But ultimately, if you look at a log and this is everyone in TF2. If you didn't know the score, but you just looked at the damage and the kills, you could probably tell me who won that game. And I think that's ultimately where the utility comes in, but it's still just a bit of fun, I think. But I guess, yeah, I mean, there's still, I don't know, people not quite understanding a few things because I haven't explained it very well in terms of like,
Yeah, bro. What's X Factor?
yeah, I mean, the X Factor is still to be released. But I guess because I haven't explained it, people think things like impact, survivability, blah, 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 like they're all arbitrary. I don't know. None of it really matters, I think, but it's just fun.
Moral of
I
the
mean, you've certainly
story, stop
built
playing for stats.
Sorry,
What?
you go.
No, you go. I'm just talking shit.
Okay.
Oh.
I was just going to say, you've certainly built a much better system than what TF2 Metrics was, and I think it is actually very useful. Maybe not, well, I think it's very entertaining to look at for myself. I'm not someone that can get into stats, but I think it's definitely a useful system. Much more than TF2 Metrics, which was just like, haha, I'm ranked 2 higher than my friend that I pug with.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like, I took the view that I don't really care, and like, this is my opinion. I don't care how Australian players compare to, like American players or European players. Like, it doesn't mean like I don't care, and I don't want to try and make that work. It's hard to test, and like realistically, how many more international lands are we going to have? Does it matter? Whereas at least this way, self-contained or reliable, because we have Warzone, right? Like everything's super reliable. Like, yeah, you can look back on your entire, well, since season 14, thanks to Elmo, you can look back on your history and sort of see games that you've played. And like, I think that's cool, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit more engagement in the scene in the sense of like, for people who, I don't know, maybe don't want to pug heaps or they don't scrim a lot. It's just another level of engagement to try and keep people involved, look at something extra. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
a
and
method
it's
of
good.
content creation. It's good for the community.
Yeah,
It
the
keeps it alive.
write-ups every week are definitely something to check out, and like the almost like the hero team that comes out of it every week is interesting to see how it changes through the season, and team dominance and things like that will be coming up. So I mean, I'm for one like really pleased to see someone stepping up and making sorry, I just whacked something off in the side, making something that's like so good for the community. But yeah, thanks, Sean. Love you.
You're welcome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did TF2 Metrics have any like kind of rating type system for like matches? I don't think it did it?
What do you mean?
Like you know how like you've made that like you can put like a login and it'll give you like a rating score for each of the players in like the log as like a basically like a skill metric, kind of similar to like the HLTV rating for CS for those that are familiar with.
Oh, so you can like see the thing for each game?
Yeah, that wasn't a thing in TF2 Metrics, was it? I don't think it's
Not
just
really. Like there was a table for every game, and you could basically it showed exact like an average over the 2 logs.
Yeah,
and like who did the most damage. By the way, really poor because like surely doing 300 damage, 300 DPM over 30 minutes is more valuable than doing 200 DPM or like than doing 350 over 10. You know what I mean? Like
Cucked in the grand final was not pleased.
yeah, or like one of them. Yeah, you've got to take total damage over total time, otherwise it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, I think. Yeah, just a few little things like that. But I totally like what One Sterling was doing was like not easy, right? Like he would have put heaps of time into that and whatever. I just think that I'm not sure if it was an automated system. I don't think it was. So in the sense, like I put in a shitload of time to automate it. So like Thursday night, the process of updating takes like half an hour to just go through, run all the logs. Like there's a few things that have to be manually entered because of just the way like logs are. But yeah, it's like it's a relatively quick thing, but it's just all the groundwork. And I mean, yeah, it's also built so it can change to look at things that people want to look at. Which is like, you know, people are constantly asking me to look at different things and like complaining that, you know, heals shouldn't matter or damage taken shouldn't matter or, you know, all these different things. But I mean,
I don't see how damage taken doesn't matter. That's a bit of a dumb
So
thing to
all the
say.
pocket scout mains complaining, just ignore them. They'll go back to their corner.
yeah, I mean, ultimately it's tuned such that doing more damage and getting more kills will rank you higher. Like at the end of the day, that's like that matters more than anything else. So I don't know.
Don't tell them that, Sean.
Yeah.
That's the secret strategy.
Do you have any like current plans for the future? Like you're just going to keep doing it for as long as you're interested in it?
Yeah, I mean, it would be good. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty low maintenance in terms of keeping it what it is. So what it is, I can maintain for a while, like a long time, I think, as long as I can spare half an hour on a Thursday evening. I mean, there are other things I want to do. Like I've been working on stream overlays, team rankings, a few other little things like that, and also just looking. Yeah, it's a balance of like how much more do I need to tweak the actual like scores, versus adding additional functionality. So right now I kind of just want to build other functionality because I spent like probably 2 months, not like a lot of time, mind you, like if, you know, in the order of like 5 to 6 hours a week over like 2 months tuning the model, right? Until it sort of seemed right. So I don't know, like I would love to be able to, yeah, make it run better because it kind of runs like shit at the moment. And just add a few more useful tools like stream overlays and stuff. So, and have it all automated so other people can sort of interact with it and do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
yeah, I
think
mean,
stream overlay would be really cool. Like how News had his stats for the ETF 12 games when they were
yeah,
casting. Like that'd be really cool.
I've got something like that that works. But just speaking of wheat, I need to kind of get it a bit more to his liking before we can use it. But yeah, I think that'll happen. Maybe not this season. Yeah, obviously the gap between seasons gives me more time to experiment with stuff and not worry about breaking things. So yeah.
Cool. And I guess that brings us on to one of the last things that we were planning on talking about for tonight, which was the pro mod / plugins that were added for this season. There was a GitHub that got posted a little while ago of some source mod commands that would edit certain things in the game. For example, crossbows going through teammates or projectiles going through teammates or removing the Rick May statue from the game and things like that. And ozfortress has put in just a couple of these, but not all of them. And I think we wanted to just touch on why James is wrong about not putting in the deterministic fall damage. So what's your excuse, Catfish?
Busted. Yeah. So there was a post on TFTV, like an article that went up like a week or two ago, that basically just talked to all the leagues about their like what they did and why and their philosophy going forward. And I believe that basically what it came down to for us really was we weren't 100% sure that a lot of the, like, for example, stuff like the crossbow going through teammates at close range and the random fall damage, we weren't sure that they were like obviously random fall damage is like Valve have intended for there to be a certain random element to fall damage. And as for the crossbow, we weren't really sure if it was like deliberate or not. Like we weren't really sure if Valve are like choosing to have the crossbow function this way, or if it's just like a bug or a byproduct or something like that. And so we were just like, our thought process was essentially just let's put in all the ones we know are bugs, and we can like they're definitely bugs, stuff like the sticky dead bug and all that kind of stuff. And then in the future going forward, we'll see about the rest basically. I believe someone in that article like schooled me as to why the crossbow thing is actually a bug instead of intended. So maybe we'll see that in the future. But
I feel like if you're standing that close to the medic, you should just be getting a beam anyway. I feel like the big thing for me is for the deterministic fall damage. I feel it makes like such little difference in game, but it's still something that should be changed, because like the precedent beforehand has always been to remove any kind of randomness in a competitive game. Like if you look at any game that's competitive, there are very few random elements. Like Counter-Strike, there is very, very little RNG. Like there is stuff like, the one tap isn't 100% accurate and all that kind of stuff. But like we removed basically random crits as soon as there was a CVAR enabled for that. We removed random crits instantly. We removed damage variation, like the damage spread from pipes and stuff like that, as soon as we possibly could. I don't see why we don't remove random fall damage as soon as we possibly could.
For me, the key difference between those examples and the random fall damage is that those examples are like, they're too impactful examples of RNG, if that makes sense. Like you can get a crit on like a last hold and you can just win the bush and you've done nothing, right? Whereas random fall damage is very, 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 very rarely going to make like any difference.
Yeah, I
the
feel
gameplay,
that.
right?
I feel that, but like at the same time, for me it relates more closely to when you hit a 99 damage pipe on a scout and they live on 1 health. It happens very, very rarely, but every time it does happen, you're like, oh, what could have been? But
I
like,
think, here you go.
Yeah, it feels like you can't calculate, I'm traveling at X hammer units per second. Like that's never going to happen, but it will mean things like, cratering from a rocket jump. You're not going to say there and go, oh, bro, I died on 25 health. What the hell is that? Like much more likely what you're going to survive and what you're not. And like removing randomness in a competitive game is always a good thing, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, I understand not doing the change for this season, but honestly, I don't think it should even matter what Valve intended, because Valve's fucking retarded.
Yeah,
Since,
and
like,
that's another good
2012.
point. They haven't
They
updated the
honestly
game for
haven't
so
put like
long.
they don't put any thought into like any of their changes. That
Mm.
they had the pyro update, and all it was making pyro even less
But
liked by
I
99%
think
of people.
to Catfish's point though, like the deterministic fall damage could be enabled right now on a server and you wouldn't know. Like you would have
I
no
mean, I
idea.
don't give a shit about the fall damage specifically. I just mean in general, I don't think
I
it
don't
should really matter what Valve
Oh yeah.
intended. And like as Paulson said, they added in a bullet spread thing or something, random bullet spread, and that doesn't matter
Yeah,
that much, but it's the same kind of thing.
I
And
feel like
like I said, I
things.
understand not changing it for this season, but like Valve is awful at like
Yeah.
design, and like I'd say it's more just because they're too lazy, and it's like the one guy in his janitor closet that probably forgot about COVID because he's just stuck in there his whole life doing random shit. He's not
Yeah.
going to make the one change needed.
I think
That Rick May statue is probably our only update for the next 4 years.
probably. I think that Valve point kind of segues into like another point. Where like I see lots of people like advocating for stuff like the more extreme pro modifications, like the scout movement buff and all that kind of thing. And I see people.
That's an interesting one as well. How do you feel about that one?
Well, I see people advocating using the argument of basically, well, like Valve, like we're not going to get the TF2 major or whatever, the $1 million major. Like the game's, it's our game now. Like let's make it fun and let's just play it for fun. Like, but I think the issue that I have with that is that I don't think you'd be avoiding, like I don't think Valve are the people that would be avoiding doing the pro mod change for, like the more extreme ones. I think the issues with those more extreme pro mod like editions is that I think it alienates the pub community even more
I mean,
from the competitive
for the
community.
med movement speed, do you think like anyone in pubs probably has even noticed? Like, I reckon 99% of people in pubs like don't really give a shit, and
I
that's
think if you've played the game enough to the point where you're probably thinking of transitioning to playing the game competitively, you're probably aware of
I
this
mean,
mechanic.
I feel like the Scout one makes so little difference because so little people play Scout on pub that like it
Well, like
doesn't
just as
really
a
ever
separate
come into
thing,
play.
I briefly played with someone in the preseason who came back from like seasons and seasons off, and like the scout movement speed was like a shocking change to them. And so for us, it might not feel like a big deal, but going from what they knew before to the new scout speed thing, and especially like the change in meta, like it was stark for them. So I can only imagine that for people already playing, going from scout speed to not would be substantial. And I also don't think you could enforce it across all the different pug servers, across all the different, like we're sort of insulated, right? Especially the people here right now playing sort of in the upper levels of competitive TF2 in Australia, but like there's a lot of people playing at lower levels doing in-house pugs and stuff. Like,
I mean, as long as it was on Ozfort and Quicks, though, it would probably be included. And I mean, don't just like throw it in without trying. I mean, I would assume it would have to be tried and agreed upon in general. I just don't mean we should just rule it out just because Valve decided in 2014 that Medic was boring, and so we'll just buff the shit out of him for no reason. It's just what we'll play
I
just because
think
Valve
it's made the
randomly
game
decide.
faster. Like, I think the argument that that removing it will make the game faster because meds are dying more, I completely disagree with.
Well, I don't think
I thought
exactly. I think it's more it unbalances like the classes. You know, Soldier's basically just like that meme where you have that bitch dude and he's the simp mama kind of stuff. Like it's that meme with the soldier. You know, it's like, okay, soldier, time for your minutely spanking. Okay, scout. You know that stuff. It just
Time
unbalances
to
like the
feed
shit out
into
of it.
2 scouts
Yeah,
again.
that's it. You know, it basically just makes it so the scouts just sit around their med and soldiers just have to cry themselves to sleep a bit. Not just saying this because I'm a soldier man, by the way, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing, you know, just makes it sad and messes up kind of the balance between the classes.
I think like for me as a player, it's like I really want the scout, like the med buff to be reversed. The like speed. I want to be reversed. I want to go back to normal. But as an admin, it's like sure, okay, we do testing, we make sure it's like actually playable, we make sure everyone likes it, and then we implement it. It's like there is still players that are going to come to competitive, and whether or not you think that like it's our game, it's our competitive, we do it how we like. Regardless, like we need to make sure the competitive scene is still inclusive to new players. You know, like there's a reason why we've gotten to 54 teams, not just because of COVID, not just because of boomers coming back because of the prize pool, but because of like there are like Icebreaker was a thing. You know, there a lot of new players came through Icebreaker, and they're playing like high now. You know, like there's a bunch of players who are in Icebreaker who are already at the top of the scene. You know, and it's like they might not have done that if like something like this core to the meta was changed, just because we miss our like soldier gameplay. I miss that. I want to revert it, but as an admin, I don't think it's really. I don't think we should.
I actually question whether soldier gameplay will come back, because I think while the med speed does help scouts, I think people are overlooking the fact that scouts are just better now. Like the scouts now are significantly better than the scouts 5 seasons ago. Like the players that are like the DM of the players in like intermediate this season would be like equal to the players in Prem 5 seasons ago. Like, so we're talking about, I think
into the
2
Prem
issues,
would be
right?
close, but I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like soldiers, even without the like the speed, I think like they would still get owned by scouts. Like I don't think that's going to change, and I think scouts are still going to play around the medic, whether he moves fast or not. And so yeah, I don't know. Like, but I guess like I take your point, and the only way to really know is to play test it, and we haven't play tested it. There's not enough data from other regions. I don't know whether the meta of other regions aligns with ours to the point where you could rely on how Europe plays the game and then go, oh, well, this happened to them, so then it's fine to implement here. Like, I don't think that works either.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know.
think I don't think it comes down so much to individual play. Like, so when I play Roma, like sure, scouts are fucking annoying. They're gonna be always annoying. Like they're always gonna shoot me. They're gonna deny my bombs and everything. But something that I miss from like pre-change was like soldier trades. Like that was such a core thing. It's like you had your pocket soldier. They took the hills. You could go for a fat trade, and like I don't know. There's something about that is just so like satisfying. And sure, you can do that on scout. You get fucking buffed, and you like have the Uber and you run in and you get meat shot after meat shot. But it's like so much fucking better as a soldier. It's like it just feels way better. I don't know. I miss playing pocket soldier. Like we've essentially removed a role. Like we used to have a pocket soldier and a roamer, and now we have 2 bitches on a team. It's like there's been a whole role removed because of this buff that Valve decided to put in.
I mean, I agree with you, Sean. I don't think the meta will change like a huge amount. I don't think we'll get back to render waddle days where you just man up and walk through the choke with your big dog and shotgun out. But
Yeah.
I just think it kind of balances it a bit better. So like, if you are like a better soldier, like you'll rather than doing your play 2 out of 10 times, it'll bring it up kind of to 5 out of 10 because it's just kind of a fair baseline. I don't think that's like the only change you would have to look at either. I mean, I was kind of a fan of doing the gunboat, so if you hit an enemy, you don't take 480 damage and blow yourself up. It's just that
Yeah, that
lower
was. I
damage.
think that's an interesting like second way of
Because
doing
I
it.
think that's I mean, keep the scout thing. I think that's actually kind of a fairer way. So like in actual kind of one-on-ones, you don't just this scout will suck my face and
But
what do
then,
I do? Just kill myself.
so the bigger question then is like, if we're talking about making changes, that means that people must think there's a problem with the game now, right? Like, and like Skaz was saying before, we have the most signups that we've ever had. So instead of just making changes because they're available, it's like, okay, looking at the game that we have, are there problems with it? What are they? And then does the solutions on offer, do they actually address the problems that we think we have with it rather than just, oh, these are available, should we use them or not? Like, I don't know, like, do we have any problems with the game?
There's still
Yeah,
gonna be
and I think
problems. I
that was.
think. Sorry,
Sorry, no, you go ahead, Doge.
I was just gonna say that people just want a fresher TF2. I guess they're just bored of normal TF2 or something like that.
Yeah,
And
and I
that's
think
why we get more maps, because we can't change the meta.
Hey man,
But like one of the things I think, as Starbucks said in chat, the sticky nerf from ages ago as well. Like, how far would you push changing the game? Would you unnerf Demo Man? Would that help anything, or is that
Demos are
too
fucking
far now?
lame.
No.
No
Like,
one
because
likes a demo.
that happened in like what 2012 or 2013 or something,
2014.
2014. Like, it happened so long ago now that we've all just like forgotten what it's like to to hit a 90 damage sticky across the map.
We should bring it back.
Close one.
That'll nerf scouts.
I remember the update where you literally would actually do like 120 damage with every sticky across
Yeah,
the
they
map.
like they
The
increased
That
update
back
where you
point,
did
that-
the
improved
update where you
damage
did
for.
12
was so-
damage per sticky, like it was like 12 damage across mid when you did the Badlands rollout. That was like a bra moment.
Scouts actually have to play the game when they're on mid now. They can't just like sit back and bait their soul. It'll be great. They actually have to move.
Well, I just think, like you said, it kind of balances it. I feel like it's just better if like the classes are more equal rather than the scouts are the powerhouse and the soldiers are the cut. I just think it's more interesting overall.
Soldiers aren't the cucks, man. Can we remove that stigma? Soldiers are the chads.
Oh yeah, I mean they
Like,
chat and
scouts are
then
the
they get their
cucks.
face fisted in. That's what I mean.
Well, I mean, maybe Doge can rocket jump better than you. Maybe that's the
It's
difference.
not just
Oh.
me though. It's like people that can actually DM and stuff. It's still like Fane and Hertz. Like they bully people all the time, and it still like feels like they get owned more than they should. It's not just me and Cookie Waddle soldiering everywhere.
God. You both water soldiers because you don't have rocket jump.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
not just
okay.
us though.
Because I mean, like, if scouts skill ceiling lifts, soldiers skill ceiling lifts as well. Like, I think there's a reason that like every top soldier is like a Tempest main. Like
Yeah,
if you look
I've
at
heard Rocky make that same argument, which is like the only way to be good at soldier at like the high level is to just basically have insane mechanics. Like you can't
Can't learn
be,
DM.
yeah, you can't just like walk along the ground and hope to do well. Like you just get fucked.
You have to think about your positioning. Like the scout
yeah, and you
class.
also have to be able to move. Like, you have to be able to move well. If a scout is standing in the right spot, you have to be able to move well to get around him. And I think it's just like being able to jump as well as aim is really important as a soldier now. So you see players like Yule who are at like the top of the game, they can like rocket jump like machines. Whereas like, no offense, Elmo, but you're not the best rocket.
Yeah, still won a final as soldier, so should be top four.
Actually, not gonna lie, you did pound that final.
I think it's just Silver and they'll bait me, man. That's all it is. Me and Cookie would own if we didn't get baited by these cucks.
The panic attack soldier on Cookie.
No, I mean he gave up on that because you basically have to use gunboats. It's just too much D, and scouts need heals more, or it's better to just heal scouts more. So
He was kind of owning, wasn't he, with the shotgun?
I mean,
Not really.
he
Or was it
still
like hindering your
owns.
team?
He's best player of the week, man. Didn't you see?
Oh god, shut the fuck
but
up.
stats means nothing. Sean said it.
You have
All
to
right.
give it to the soldiers when they own. How dare you? Come on.
All right. Anyone else have any last thoughts on this pro mod thing before we start talking about something else?
Just to
I do just
backtrack
want
a
to.
tiny bit.
Sorry,
you
go,
go,
Shane.
Sean.
No, you're right.
I think
Please,
it's worth
stop
trying
the
out
host.
at very least. I don't think we should just discount it because Valve decided. Was kind of my main overall point because Valve hasn't thought about an actual change in like 8 years. So yeah.
I was just gonna say briefly that like it's the kind of thing as well that would like really hamper international lands if it wasn't a globally adapted thing. If everyone wasn't using the same thing, like it would be really rough if like RGL wasn't using it and then ETFL decided to, and then you've got like Froyo going over for I-60 whatever.
Well, I mean, that was the
And
same thing that happened when Froyo and Leviathan and HRG went over and fucking wiped the floor with all the Europeans in like I-40, whatever it was. Like they all went, oh shit, these guys are flat out better than us. Like I feel that no matter what happens, if you're better, you're better.
I don't know. I think to an extent, maybe, but at the same time, if you're playing a game that's like a very different meta to what you're used to, and you've only got like less than a week there to practice to scrim, to get used
I
to
also
it, you'd
have like
for sure.
a strong opinion that like I don't think we should optimize our game based on what anyone else is doing. Like I don't like realistically we're not gonna have any more international lands, and if we do, like Australia is pretty unlikely to go. Like I think it's realistically like really unlikely, and I think that basically like my personal opinion is that our priority should be to prioritize our region and how we can get as many people like playing the game and continuing to play the game for as long as possible, and like sort of what other people are doing shouldn't matter too much, though there is a good argument that people should be able to watch Banny, who like we have to acknowledge is like the biggest influence in the scene. So like people should be able to watch Banny and go, cool, what he's telling me applies, and I should be able to go play like competitive Team Fortress 2 in ozfortress based on what Banny is telling me. But yeah, like I don't think it'll change that much meta to meta, but I don't know.
I think there's like a real it's like kind of off topic, I guess. There's a real nitpicky argument on both sides where it's like it's such a small change, so just add it, and then it's also like it's such a small change, so we just won't add it. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
just fucking add the fixes. Don't change the scout speed.
I think
I don't know.
just like maybe some one night cups will sort it out. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah,
Surprise.
especially like I feel like medic change is like the speed change is going to be such a big difference. Like do it in a one night cup, see how it feels, and then like move from there. But like to be honest, I agree with Sean. This game's like not going to get another international LAN, at least one where Australia can go to. Although that's a use for the ozfortress Patreon. Hey, catfish.
If any top team wants to go to LAN, hit me up. Yeah, I think like post season 28, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's probably pretty likely there'll be some kind of cup, maybe to like test a lot of these plugins, some kind of experimental cup. I think that's very possible. But before then, I don't think we're going to be thinking about them too much.
Yeah, and I guess just final things before we start wrapping it up, we can talk a little bit more about the season in general. Of course, there being a prize pool. How do you reckon the Prem race is going for that prize pool? Do you guys have any favorites for that Prem prize pool winner? Who do you reckon is going to take out this season?
I mean, Happy Feet kind of has to be the favorite. I mean, despite dubious saying Nog with a dominant force for 3 seasons in a row, Coffee Clock still and / Happy Feet still's won. How many is it? 4? I think it's 4 in a row.
Yeah,
So
a
I mean,
few.
they have to be kind of the favorites.
Yeah, they were seeded first going into the season with Headcavers second, but it's pretty close. Like it is very close. It's very hard to predict. I think either team could probably.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Doge? Do you reckon there's a chance for Headcavers in this? Have you been working hard?
Of course, I'm a bit biased being a member of Headcavers that we're going to win.
It has Hurts though. That basically disqualifies you from winning unless he's getting
I
carried
believe in
by
Hurts,
me
man.
and Paulson and Cookies.
I'm playing medic, so it's all over. I'm the glue to this team.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw a Sunshine game last season that kind of went against that, but
Oh,
you can believe whatever.
no one remembers it, so it's right, Elmo.
so Cavers are at a bit of a disadvantage because they have Dork and he's like pretty shit.
Dogs? Oh,
Whoa.
Fucking hell.
I agree,
Just
but
went
dogs
there.
kind of been smoking lately.
Immediate rage in the chat.
I mean, I think is it butterfly defect because Rocky's a defect or something? They're still really good. Like, I don't think Shupa's gelled as quickly as Fainted. And Rocky's obviously still Rockstar Macca, but obviously he has, flaws with the way he plays that they can.
I mean, if Jasmine
People can
T beat them, like, how
and
do you
yeah,
rate
and
their
us beef idiots might win if Paulson keeps up his 3 MG
Also,
sessions, and
if you
me
guys,
and Cookie managed to jump without hitting every wall possible we could. Yeah, don't want to talk myself up too much,
I mean, if you guys do like miraculously get third, what's your like chance of paying out your subs? Hey,
I mean, I reckon we'll come top 3. This was discussing winning. We're definitely putting Head Cavers or Rocky down into 4th, mate. Don't you worry about that.
oh yeah,
Yeah, very, very high chance that you can. I'll buy you a pizza, Xander, if we come 3rd.
dude, I'm gonna hold you to that. Next time I'm in Brisbane, man, you better buy
I'll
me
pay for the Patreon and buy your pizza.
All right, cool. Well, I guess that kind of wraps up things for tonight. Unless there's anything else anyone wants to bring up last minute before we head over to our shout out section.
Any questions from chat, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I think actually I did see a question from chat a very, very long time ago. I have literally no idea who asked it, but we were talking about boomers coming back to TF2. And
It's what boomers do you want to see back?
Yeah, what
What's the
older
question?
gamers do you want to see come back to the chat? I guess I'll open up to everyone here. Who doesn't play anymore that you'd like to come back?
I mean, I assume everyone in general. It would be cool if the IAM boys, at least a few of them, came back. I know they made an Ozfort page, at least some of them,
Yeah, I
a
saw
while
Sheep
back.
made an Ozfort
Sheep
page.
and Aporia on a team or something, or Aporia and Ori a few seasons back. So obviously it would be pretty cool, but seems highly unlikely.
There's a good question in chat. Why are 2 members of Salt Free Gaming, one of the worst teams in Ozwatch's history, giving their opinion on the game?
Dude,
Because fuck you, Blank.
Very
What do you
fair.
mean? Had intermediate champions when intermediate was,
They came fourth
high.
in Prem, man. They came fourth in Prem.
Did they? Really?
Yeah, I subbed
Season
on
20.
that season, man.
That's a beast.
To be fair though, that was like the weakest season of Frem I think I've ever seen.
What
Like it
about
was
Spire
very-
Kings Have Feelings too?
Is that when you had Dork on your team?
yeah.
Where you
So
can't shit talk
even,
them
like,
ever
in spite
again?
of having
I
Dork, we
think
still
they were
had-
carried by like Dork and Hyper.
Yeah, we had Dork and Hyper on Scout.
What season did you have Lex on? I thought he carried you
21, I think. I think we got like 7th.
in Prem. When did you win Inter? Because you literally hadn't won a game since then, right, or something? Sadly.
Holy shit!
We won in season 22, and since then we've won 2 maps. No more. No, 4. Yeah, fuck, we're doing so well. 4 maps.
We're doing really well.
That's just proof that being an
You can-
admin drops your skill.
No,
Unfortunately.
it's all Zildjian. What?
Yeah.
It's not really. It's Snazzy as well.
Yeah, no, I think Snazzy is probably solely to blame here.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you have any questions, chat, post them now because we're going to wrap things up. I think people want you to get your hair out of your ponytail, though, Nick.
Oh, it might still be wet. I don't know. Do I have to do like a fucking flick and everything as well? Can I
Go on.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
just do that? Yeah, look, it's wet. It's kind of gross, I'll be honest. But there you go. There's the hype. The hype? The hair.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, I guess we'll open it up to some shout outs now. Head down the list, see if we can finish things up before we all die of old age in here. I guess we'll go down the list. Sean, you're first on my list. What are your shout outs for tonight?
Shout outs to my high team. Shout outs to Connor for casting this, and shout outs to the admins.
Skaz, what are your shout outs?
Shout outs to Salt Free and Zildjian and Snazzy. I apologize. I didn't mean to be so rude. Please don't yell at me when we scrim next. And yeah, I don't know. I love all of you. Thank you.
Hertz asks in chat, can you ask Doge why he turns up for the round table but doesn't show up to scrims? What is your response, Doge?
Shit. No comment.
Do you have any shout outs?
Shout out to Ivan. I love you, Ivan.
Shit. Elmo, shout outs?
I'll also shout out Ivan because I also love Ivan. Shout out to Redcoat for going to bang Alex instead of coming onto round table. Always appreciate. And shout out to Yule and other Happy Feet and beefers, Jasmine beefers as well. I'm very excited to watch some more Twitch streams and just see beef the whole time, even when I get kills.
Awesome. Catfish, any shout outs?
Shout out to both Cole and our anonymous donator for the $1,000 collective dollars for the season's prize pool. Very much appreciate. Shout out to the patrons, past and present, for helping us do what we do and all that kind of good stuff. Shout out to Salt Free. Shout out to TF Live and Xander and Core and stuff for putting this together. And shout out to Dork and shout out to Oz because he asked.
Awesome. And I think that wraps things up for tonight. Shout out to Connor and Whitehoofed for organizing everything tonight. Whitehoofed for organizing everything you see on your screen. Connor for streaming and organizing everything that happened behind the scenes. Absolutely fantastic stuff from the TF Live crew. We're hoping to do another one of these as we head towards the end of the season. See if there's anything that we missed that we can talk about. As we head, maybe combine it with an awards show, something like that in the last couple of weeks of the season. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you're watching it in the post, because I know a lot of people are scrimming tonight / not watching the stream, thanks for tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you in the next round table for season 28 of ozfortress. Thanks everyone, and good night. I have finished like 4 beers in the course of this. I need to pee like a fucking machine.